Saudi Arabia. There you go. These are real. These are real. This is all Minnesota, every one of them. This is one state out of many. And these people are, let's see, yeah, these are all so far people that came from outside of the country. They were allowed in by Sleepy Joe Biden, Crooked Joe Biden, whichever you like. You can call him whatever you like. They're both right. He's sleepy and he's crooked. He was the worst president we've ever had. And we've had some bad ones too. I can tell you, all you have to do is look at Parade. You're not getting bored with this, right? I hope you don't. But these are people that you have to see. Strong arm rape, aggravated assault with a weapon, and many other crimes. Gang member, known as one of the toughest people around. These are tough people. So this is what the people are trying to protect. Because all ICE wants to do is get them out of our country, bring them to prisons and jails and mental institutions from where they came. That's all they want to do. They're patriots, and they have to be abused by guys like Don Lemon, who's a loser, lightweight. I saw him the way he walked in that church. It was terrible. I have such respect for that pastor. He was so calm. He was so nice. He was just accosted. What they did in that church was horrible yesterday. Look at this here. 24 convictions. 24 times convicted. They're not charges. These are convictions. So he comes from outside the country. Do you think he's going to be good here? Convicted 24 times. He's going to be good here, right? It doesn't work that way. Man murder. One of many. One of many. All they want to do is get him out. They want to take him out of our country. And we're met with paid agitators and insurrectionists, troublemakers. They're paid. You know, when the woman was shot, I felt terribly about that. And I understand both sides of it. But when she was shot, there was another woman that was screaming shame, 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 right? You saw it so loud, like a professional opera singer. She was so loud and so professional. She wasn't a woman that was hurt, like, oh, my heart's injured. She was a professional. She's shame, shame. She's screaming shame, shame. I said, that's not a normal person. That's a professional. These are professional agitators and professional people that want to see our country do badly. But that's not happening because we have the hottest country anywhere in the world, despite this stuff. Look at this. All top of the line criminals. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be well behaved here. I could do thousands. We had over 3,000 in the last fairly short while. Just in Minnesota. What's the number, Carol? 10,000. 10,000 criminals arrested. 10,000 coming. And these are serious criminals. Now, how can a place with 10,000 criminals, how can you have a state? And yet they're fighting us. I like that guy. He keeps nodding to me. Do you agree with me, I guess? I like him. I don't know who he is, but I like him. He keeps nodding. He says, you're right. He's obviously a little on the right side, maybe. Look. These are rough ones. So this, we just took this off a stack. We have many stacks like this. Like, I could go 30 times what I'm showing you now. Relations with Hezbollah, that's nice. Why do we allow them in our country? Just look at these choices. It's just pretty incredible. Many murders, many murders. People that murdered. So what ICE does in Border Patrol is incredible. Paul Perez and that group is incredible. Mostly Hispanic, by the way. They're like 60% Hispanic. You know, they talk about Hispanic. They're mostly Hispanic, right? And they're unbelievable people. And then they say, oh, we discriminate against. I love Hispanic. They are unbelievable. Entrepreneurial. They have everything. I did great. I did the highest. Nobody ever got numbers like I got from the standpoint of being a Republican. But even if you look at Texas, I won the entire border along Texas, between Texas and Mexico. It never happened before. Nobody's ever done that before. I did it. As a Republican, I did it. I love the Hispanic. And they accuse us of all sorts of things. 60% of the people we're talking about, they're the best people we have, and they're Hispanic. The Border Patrol is largely Hispanic. ICE is largely Hispanic. They're unbelievable people. I don't know how they can take the abuse. They're taking rough people like this, like all of them. We have 10,000 at least. I could have done 10,000 of them. You're lucky I only did like 100. And this isn't even the worst of the group. They have murderers. They have some people we can't use their picture for legal reasons, but they're up for murder in their own country. And we jeopardize their case. When we send them back and we coordinate with other countries. A tremendous amount of work. All allowed in here by an open border policy of the worst president in the history of our country. A man that didn't win the election, by the way, it's a rigged election. Everybody knows that now. And by the way, numbers are coming out that show it even more plainly. We caught him. So I just want you to know that it's a terrible thing. Here's the book on accomplishments. And this is something, I'm glad my finger wasn't on that stuff. That could take some damage, but you know what? I wouldn't have shown the page. I would have gone back. What, did you hear that? That was nasty. But I would not have shown the pain. I would have acted like nothing happened as my finger fell off. That was just nasty. I think somebody did that. It was him. It was my man. How were you? You didn't do it. I know you didn't. So, but here's the book. These are all things. I'm going to read a few of the samples, but look at this. These are all, each line is something that we did. Nobody did that before. And it's big stuff, too. Look, we have the hottest country in the world. So, I will read you a few. We ended Biden's stagflation. We were in stagflation. That's a disaster. That's far worse than inflation. As you know, he had the biggest inflation in the history of our country. They say 48 years. Pick your choice. But they had the biggest inflation in the history of our country. We have it right down to a normal number now. We're going to get it even a little bit lower. Created super high. What we've done with growth is incredible. We created super high economic growth. And America is booming. It's booming. There are thousands of businesses right now that are being built. Many of the biggest factories in the world are being built right in our country. They're not going to other countries. They're leaving other countries. Fourth quarter GDP is on track to pass perhaps much more than 5% growth. And that's despite the fact that we had a Democrat shutdown. They shut down our country. And we had 5%. Nobody in this room has ever heard about 5%. I think it could be 20% if we do it right. If we don't, every time we have good numbers, they raise interest rates. In the old days, if you had good numbers, they'd lower interest rates, or they wouldn't do anything. Here they try and kill it. They always try and kill success. Over the last 20, 25 years, that's the way. In the old days, if you had good numbers, the market would go through the roof. Today, if you have good numbers, the market goes down. But by the way, we've had the best stock market in history, the best 401ks in history, and we inherited a mess. The numbers that we inherited were way up, and now we brought them, almost all of them, way down. We brought them way down. I mean, I'm not getting, maybe I have the bad public relations people, but we're not getting it across. We inherited high numbers, and we brought them way down. And look at gasoline. They have places in the country now $1.99 a gallon, 1.99, 2.30, 2.50. I guess the average now they're saying is 2.31. I mean, he was at 4.50 and $5 for periods of time. And he went back to the Trump formula, but he didn't do it properly, and he really went back to parts of it because you would have had $8 gasoline if they didn't. But he didn't do it properly. He had people that didn't know what they were doing. Core inflation for the last 3 months is 1.6%. 1.6. Their core inflation was so high that nobody could even calculate it. Under Biden, real incomes declined $3,000. Think of that, $3,000. That's a year. In 12 months, Trump real incomes went up by $2,000 and $3,000 and even in some cases $5,000. It's a tremendous difference. Stock market has set 52 all-time record highs during the course of the 11 months, because this was done in 11 months. Now we are actually officially 12 months as of today. 52 all-time record highs. That means 401ks did great. I have people see me all the time, policemen that guard us really well. Got to know them a little bit. They said, "Sir, you're making me look so good. My 401k is through the roof. My wife thinks I'm the greatest genius, that I'm a financial genius, like Warren Buffett." He told me that. He said, I think they have better returns than Warren Buffett right now. But he said, all my life, my wife has been criticizing me for not being smart financially. Now, all of a sudden, she loves me more. But we had $9 trillion in value to retirement accounts, saving many people. I mean, they were going out of business. Think of it. We added $9 trillion of value to retirement accounts, savings accounts, and 401ks. That's during the course of 12 months. And I think it's probably 11 months because I don't think they have it for the 12. They have it for the 11. Added $9 trillion of value. Lifted more than 1 million Americans off food stamps in 1 year. They would have had another 1.2 million. We would have had, welfare would have gone up. And instead of investing $18 trillion in our country, now it's probably more than that, but 18 trillion and having thousands of plants being built all over the country, you would have had thousands of plants closing all over the country. And you would have had disinvestment, and you would have had welfare going way up. You know, if you look at SNAP, take a look at SNAP, what happened with that? It was at $7 billion, and it came out to over $51 billion. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. The past administration had no clue, or they were really bad, but they basically had no clue. But they did have a concept. I mean, they're still trying to sell the idea of men playing in women's sports. You saw that in the Supreme Court. I mean, some of those justices were fighting for them, too. They were fighting for them. You saw that just the other day in the Supreme Court. Men playing in women's sports doesn't work. Secured a record-breaking $18 trillion in commitments for new investments. Apple, NVIDIA, SoftBank, Oracle, TSMC, Johnson & Johnson, Eli Lilly and Company, Micron, AstraZeneca, General Motors, Hyundai, Ford, Honda, GE Aerospace, many, many others. I left a Ford plant a week ago in Michigan that they were going to close 2 years ago, and now they just announced that they're going 24 hours around the clock making cars. Tariffs did it. I don't know what the Supreme Court's going to do. I think to me it reads so plainly. It couldn't be plainer. You're allowed to do a license. Tariff is preferably less severe than what a license could be. But think of it. You're allowed to do a license. And then they have a clause at the end, something to the effect, or what is necessary, something to that effect. And what is necessary with tariffs. I don't know where there's a case even there, but we've taken in hundreds of billions of dollars. And if we lose that case, it's possible we're going to have to do the best we can in paying it back. I don't know how that's going to be done very easily without hurting a lot of people. But we're waiting for that case anxiously, and we have tremendous national security because of tariffs. and tremendous income. We have, and by the way, no inflation. So everyone said, "Oh, tariffs will cause inflation." We have no inflation. We have very little inflation. Biden had inflation, and he didn't do tariffs. We had a huge problem. We have a 62% reduction in our trade deficit. So if you had a 1% reduction, a normal president would have a 1%, 2% reduction. Everybody would be high-fiving. Had a 62% reduction. Next year we won't have a trade deficit. We secured most favored nations agreements to slash drug prices by as much. And to me, I think this might be the biggest thing of all. We get zero talk about it. The New York Times had a story way in the back of the paper, a little story about it. I think it's the biggest thing there is when you talk about healthcare. Drug prices will go down more than ever before for any country because we were priced at such a level that we were subsidizing the entire world, big place in the world. We were paying 10, 12, 13 times more than other countries. 13 times, well, not 13%, 13 times more. A pill that was selling in London for $10 would sell in New York for $130. It's 13 times. More than that even. But we secured most favored nations agreements to slash drug prices by as much as 300, 400, 500, and even 600%, including with Pfizer, AstraZeneca, Eli Lilly, Nova Nordisk, Gilead Sciences, EMD, Serenio, and many others. If you look at some of the prices that are coming down, where a price would come down $1,300 coming down to $87. Think of it. So something that was costing $1,300 is now costing $87. And the fake news doesn't want to write about it. That's why I do this. I don't like to do this, to be honest with you. But I do it because I've got to get the word out. We signed one big, beautiful bill. I call it the Great Big Beautiful Bill, delivering the largest tax cuts in history. No tax on tips, no tax on Social Security, no tax on overtime. We made interest on car loans tax deductible for U.S. built automobiles only. So if you buy an automobile built in the United States, we're not doing it for Germany and Canada and different places. We're doing it only if it's built here. We want them to be built here. A lot of the Canadian auto plants are closing and they're moving into the United States. Same thing with Mexico, same thing with Germany, and same thing with Japan and other countries. They're moving into the United States because of tariffs. Because they don't want to pay the tariffs. It's too much. They can't pay the tariffs. So they're coming here. Nothing different than what other smart countries did. But it works better for us. Under my leadership, it's not done properly, but it's done properly. We have, again, more plants being built than at any time in the history of our country. Passed the largest spending cuts in American history, and that was true in my first. We had a tremendous first term also. We rebuilt our military. We had one of the best. We had the best economy in the history of our country. But we're blowing it away now. Where this stuff starts opening up, you're not going to see anything like it probably ever again. We slashed the federal budget deficit by 27% in a single year. Think of that, 27. You could do it 2%, 1%, a half a percent, 27%. And that's with all of the things we have to do, all of the people we have to put on the payroll to get rid of people that are murderers. Again, when you see people in Minnesota that are murderers, these people are fighting to keep them there. And I say, Christie, Holman, great people. They're working so hard. Look at the border. The border is now secure. First time there, Biden said you couldn't do it. You need legislation. I had no legislation. They said close the border. Within 1 month, we had almost nobody coming in. Now, for the last 8 months, nobody came into our country illegally. And I find that hard to believe because you'd think somebody, because it used to be millions of people just poured into our country. And the people that do that are Democrat sort of aligned. So, they're not doing me any favors. We had nobody come in. We have a very strong border. We have very few people coming up. They're not going to make the trek because they know they probably won't be coming in, so it's not as hard as you think. But I didn't have to go back. Remember, they said we need legislation to close the border. They had millions of people coming in a month. We have nobody coming in, and we're getting their murderers out. Murdering people from prisons and jails. Many countries opened up their prisons and dropped them into the United States. Those are the people we're getting out. And we have a lot of heart. I said, you've got to lighten up on this. We have a lot of heart for people. They came in illegally, but they're good people, and they're working now on farms, and they're working in luncheonettes and hotels and all. And we're looking to get the criminals out right now, the criminals. And I think it's very important. I mean, every once in a while you see a story, we take somebody. He should be out because they came in illegally. So in theory, they should be. But we're focused on the murderers, the drug dealers, the mentally insane. We have a lot of mentally insane killers. I mean, you can't even talk to them. It'd be nice if you could have a little reason, but you can't even reason. These are seriously ill people. You have a couple of countries where they were loaded up. Their mental institutions and insane asylums were loaded to the gills. They couldn't get. They're empty now, but they're filling up because we're bringing them all back. We know where they came from, and every country accepts them. You know, under Biden, they wouldn't say. They had so little respect that they'd bring them there, and they wouldn't take them. They said, "Get the hell out of here." They would be bringing a plane in to land in a country, and they'd put 5 planes on the runway so you couldn't land a plane. So they'd come back with the people that they were bringing back. They don't do that with me. They do that with me. They have problems. They don't do. They accept them back. They're not happy about it, but they accept them back. Cut a record number of regulations. I promised to eliminate 10 old regulations for every one new regulation. Instead, we cut 129 old regulations for each one added. Think of that. I want to do 10. My first 4 years I did, when we put on a new regulation, you had to cut 8. This year I said you have to cut 10. Instead, we cut 129. So every time, so far, can't remain like that, I don't imagine. I hope I can, because we have so much wasted regulation, stupid regulations. Regulations where they go by California, which is a disaster state, with a governor that truly is doing a bad job. He's killing that state. If he ever ran the country, this country would be Venezuela. Very quickly. Using tariffs slash the U.S. trade deficit by an incredible 77%. The trade deficit is down, and that doesn't include the last month where we had our best month. We slashed the trade deficit by an incredible 77% in 1 year with no inflation, something that everyone said could not be done. So we had essentially no inflation. In fact, the last month we had almost no inflation. But we slashed the trade deficit by 77%. If you slash it by 1%, that was good. Again, we did that with tariffs and intelligence. We did that with November 5th. Great election. We secured historic trade deals to reduce barriers on U.S. exports with countries covering 40% of all U.S. trade. Think of that. American exports are up by more than $150 billion this year. People said, oh, we're not exporting. All we do is buy. If you keep buying, you're not going to have a country for very long. So we increased exports by more than $150 billion. Investment in American factories is up 41%. That's a record. Nobody goes 41% up. You go 2% up, 1% up. You go down by 3%. If Kamala got elected, the 41% up would be 41% down. We removed over 270,000 bureaucrats from the federal payroll. That's another thing. So we have, we announce our unemployment numbers, call it unemployment or employment, and they were very good. But we could make them great. But we've slashed tremendous numbers of people off the federal payroll. Because ultimately, if you're on the federal payroll, I mean, we have jobs where they had 10 people for every job. So we cut. Now, if you want to see some good numbers, I'll hire 1 million people. We cut millions of people off the federal payroll. I don't like doing that, but the good news, I don't feel badly because they're getting private sector jobs and they're getting sometimes twice as much money, 3 times as much money. They're getting factory jobs. They're getting much better jobs and much higher pay. But all I have to do is say, like, what the Democrats do all the time. They hire 1 million people, and then they hire another million, another million. They load it up, and it says, oh, they only have a 3% unemployment rate. It's a fake rate. So with us, we're proud of the fact that we cut so many because, again, I don't want to cut people. But when you cut them and they go out and get a better job, I like to cut them. And sometimes they have to be forced to do that because, it's like they want to stay where they are. They don't know. And then all of a sudden they end up, we have many cases, Caroline, where people were devastated. They hated Trump. I got caught from my very boring federal job where they had, again, sometimes 10 people to do one job. And they were very upset. And now they ended up with a job where they get paid 3 times more money. They're ending up buying houses. It's like crazy. So they went from not liking me to liking me a lot. Because it's hard to get, we need people. We need people. It's one of the reasons, I want to, when you have good people in the farm or good people in hotels and everything else, we want to work with them as much as we can. Under Biden, 1 out of 4 jobs added was a government job. Think of that. So 25% of the jobs added. That's when you know that, that's 25% of jobs aren't real jobs. But again, I could do that. I could add 2 million jobs right now. Would have an unemployed. I could say just hire some more people. I do the opposite. I say get rid of everybody that's unnecessary because that's the way you make America great again. When you have, all these jobs where people are sitting around doing nothing and they get a lot of money by the government, it's no good. But that's what the Democrats do. They show, we were at 4% unemployment. That's a good number. But they just add jobs where they wouldn't cut. They would never cut jobs. Under Trump, 100% of all new jobs created have been in the private sector. Think of that. Not 1% has gone to federal. So under Biden, 1 out of 4 was a government job. Under Trump, 100% of the new jobs created, 100% came from the private sector. That's how you make your country wealthy and strong and good. We inherited the worst border in history and turned it into the strongest border in history. Illegal crossings have plummeted to the lowest level ever recorded, down 99.999%. That means down 100%. 99.99. Now, I want to find out who that one person is. For 8 months in a row, 0, and these are government numbers, these are not my numbers. For 8 months in a row, 0 illegal aliens were admitted to our country. 0. Nobody came in, unless they came in legally. We have a big process for having people come in legally, by the way. A lot of people are coming in legally. They have to prove they love our country. They have to prove that they're not going to need welfare. A lot of things they have to prove. For the first time in 50 years, we are now seeing reverse migration, where because we're getting all of these illegal people out. People that came in illegally, many cases they're criminals in many, many cases. Remember when they used to say that the people that come into our country as immigrants are very nice people, they're wonderful people, they don't commit crime. No, they make our criminals look like babies. They make our Hells Angels look like the sweetest people on earth. The Hells Angels are now considered a nice, high-quality person. Oh, I like the Hells Angels. They voted for me. They protected me. Believe it or not, we make our criminals look like babies. These are some of the most vicious people anywhere in the world. They